evening. My name is Radhika Ramani and I head Motivator for the South. On behalf of the Bangalore Ad Club, a big warm welcome to all of you on today's webinar on the rules of category creation and disruption. For those who are new to these webinars, the Bangalore Ad Club has been organizing a series of webinars in the last few months. This is something that we plan to continue, so do feel free to give us your feedback. And more importantly, write to us on any topic that you'd wish us to cover in the future webinars. For those who are new to these webinars for non-members, we are inviting you to become members of the Bangalore Ad Club. You can do so by going to our website, www.bangaloreadclub.net, and I repeat, bangaloreadclub.net, and do follow us on your social pages too. So getting back to the topic on hand today, creating and disrupting a category is not just about educating the market about new solutions. It's also about creating dissonance and educating the consumers about new problems that are not on top of their minds. This kind of education needs differentiated thinking and a breakthrough in several business models as well. So to talk about this today, we are thrilled to have three experts who have managed brands and businesses that have done just this. So please welcome. Mr. Ajoy Chawla is currently the CEO of Titan's jewelry business, which houses iconic brands such as Tanishq, Mia, Zoya, and Carrot Lane. A category traditionally run by the local jeweler, Titan Jewelry business today is a network of 450 plus executive retail outlets in about 200 plus towns. Prior to this role, he was responsible for strategy and new business incubation at Titan for 5 years, and was tasked with nurturing and launching Titan's new business fragrances and the Indian ethnic wear, the brand Tanera. Ajoy has also led the watch business within Titan and was responsible for driving the P&L of domestic and international businesses. He's lived the life of an entrepreneur. Besides launching fragrances and saris, he has a successful track record of incubating new business for Titan, including Helios and Fast Track. Ajoy, welcome to the panel today. Sanjay is the COO of the ITC's dairy and beverages business. In this role, he handles the P&L for the business, encompassing all aspects, including R&D, manufacturing, marketing, sales, and operations. Prior to this, he was the head of marketing in the foods division of Dabur India Limited, handling brands such as Real Fruit juices. In a career spanning nearly 25 years, he has handled senior P&L responsibility and functional leadership in marketing and sales for personal care and foods business in India and abroad. And finally, we have Rahul Panchal, the GM marketing for face care in the consumer products division of Himalaya. Rahul has worked on the Himalaya Purifying Neem Face Wash brand since its inception and has been part of its growth journey in Himalaya. He's passionate about building brands with a meaningful purpose that brings evolutionary changes in consumer behavior and in the category. In fact, it was in one such conversation with him that we got the idea to do this webinar. Of course, moderating the session today will be Like, the co-founder and director of Origami Creative and the president of the Bangalore Ad Club. Gentlemen, a really warm welcome. Like, I hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Radhika. So, distinguished panelists, thank you so much for taking time out and being part of this webinar today on behalf of Ad Club. Very warm welcome once again. And can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So, category creation, I think, is a subject which I always get excited with because there is so much in it, right? Saying that, okay, whether it's spotting an opportunity, whether it is hitting a market as a first mover or maintaining category leadership, I think everything about it is very exciting. I really wonder how y'all have been repeatedly doing this. And there are a lot of questions in my mind, and that is what I'm trying to put it across into a very free-flowing conversation. Like, do you really focus on a small passionate niche, or do you go after the underserved mass audience? Do you pick a category which has very less competitors or search volumes for that matter? I'm very excited to be moderating this panel. and most importantly, listen to all your perspectives and point of views today. So from whatever little I could speak to each one of y'all, I already know that the audience is going to have great takeaways. And all of you out there, remember these three panels today has built brands like Tanishq, Be Natural, Himalaya, Tanera, Real Skin, Ashirwad, Fast Track, and a lot more. So keep sending in your questions, and I will cover as much as I can in the process. So straight up, coming to the first question, uh, what exactly is the start point of a category idea, especially in an established organization like y'all? How do you go about identifying a market gap to create a new category? How close or how far do you venture out? Because you have your immediate playing field, right? Saying that, okay, so how do you decide how far, how close? Do you all follow certain methodologies internally to arrive at this? Some opening thoughts. I think we will begin with alphabetical order. So I'll start with Ajoy.
Thanks, like a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on the panel. I mean, ultimately, it's a judgmental point of view in terms of how close or how far. But when we look at it in Titan, we've looked at, is there opportunity for scale? We've looked at adjacencies. I mean, does it play to our strengths in terms of brand building, design-led differentiation, so on and so forth, retail. And of course, it should be in the lifestyle space because we are pretty much in the lifestyle space. But another important criteria that we have used to kind of filter out, the many opportunities in lifestyle has been on looking at those categories where the market is either unorganized, it is the customers are underserved, or there are significant underserved segments, and or there is an underpenetrated marketplace. So when we got into watches many years ago, the market was underpenetrated. Jewelry, the market was not underpenetrated, but it was underserved in terms of sheer purity, etc. Eyewear, again, it has been a largely unorganized and underserved market when we got in, and so on and so forth. Saris, which we got into more recently, was it is unorganized. It is certainly well penetrated. But when you look at the way in which the market was operating and the kind of segment we wanted to go after, it was certainly underserved. We went after the hand-woven artisanal, and we can come to that later. So whichever category, perfumes, highly underpenetrated in India and very unorganized and very underserved. Access is very limited. So that's been a broad mantra. Having said that, we realize that unless and until it plays to our strengths. For example, Titan in most of its business is not a cost leader. We may be cost competitive, but we are not a cost leader. So we try to avoid getting into categories where pure cost leadership is what's going to drive. On the other hand, it's about brands, differentiation through design and customer service that enables us. So that's the broad approach. Within the category, once you kind of get in, we try to understand what are the unmet needs of the customer by immersing ourselves with extensive customer studies. It could be wardrobe audits, it could be qualitative research, it could also be quantitative. For example, in saris, I think we reached out to 4,000 young women in the sub 30-year-old category segment to say, is saris important for you at all? Because there's no point in getting into a category which maybe, a lot of people felt, is it a dying category? Yeah. And we were surprised at what we heard and what we saw. So I think a deep dive into the customer is the best way to enable finding what is that unmet need or the white space in which we can get it.
Awesome. So it's not like what Steve Jobs said, saying don't listen to the customer. Here you're saying that listen to the customer.
Listen only to the customer, because I think to me, and any entrepreneurial venture, intrapreneurial or external, is about serving a customer uniquely, which others have not been able to do so. So what is that hatke? What is it that I am bringing to the table which is adding value? Or am I simply getting into a category and saying I'll play the market share game? I'll take some share from here, take some share from here, and do that. Then it becomes a win-loss situation. You're not really. So I mean, for Titan, what has worked is this. Maybe for many other companies, it works
It
differently.
would be something else. Yeah. So what's the scene with Himalaya, Rahul? You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes. So how do you all look at?
Yeah, sure. So when we identify market opportunities, personal care offers very interesting challenge. Okay. So in personal care, you will see the buyer, the user, and the decision maker is largely the same individual. But this individual tries to behave differently across product segment, and that complicates the entire process. So to give perspective, you will find the same individual who uses a sachet in shampoo, but at the same time he'll be using an expensive 250 rupee face cream, and they both will be used at the same time. So hence, to decode the opportunity, two things are important according to us. And first thing is knowing it the right way, and asking the right why. So knowing the right way, like Ajoy also said, there are well-known market research methodologies that we also look into. We look at consumer immersions, ethnographic studies, comprehensive UNAs are there. We look at white space technologies. We look at global trend that have been influencing India. But besides research models and techniques, what we believe is different is the company's entrepreneurial culture that encourages to ask why to the data, and that leads to spotting of trend, that leads to taking risk early on and invest early on, right? At Himalaya, we have very nicely fostered this culture, and that has helped us to stay ahead of the curve in a lot of category creation. To give you a perspective, we were the first companies to enter and disrupt face wash category somewhere in 2002. We entered lip balm category in 2003 when it was not even a category. We looked at some emerging hand hygiene trends, and we entered into hand sanitizer category 15 years back. Even recently, we looked at white space studies and a lot of global trends, and entered a lot of new segments like beard care, protective facial wipes, hand creams, right? And amongst all these categories, Himalaya has entered and created category. Today, amongst all these categories, we are among the top 3 players. So we believe that net, while there are research methodologies on the one side, but at the same time, the culture of the company of asking the right why plays a very important role. And we look at expansion, and we stretch to an extent where the new category adds to the new consumer, the new franchisee to our portfolio. But at the same time, it is close to company's value. The category is close to company value and the overall equity.
Awesome. Thanks for that point of view. Sanjay, how is it like in ITC? You guys are growing, and like I said, I saw that report saying that, okay, you're touching close to Britannia now, 10,000 crores. So what's the approach like? What is there a certain methodology what you all use? How do you all look at it? I'm saying there is so much happening in ITC that there is something or the other which is coming out every other day too. So how do you all approach it?
Sure, thanks, Like. I mean, it is very interesting because I'll try to contextualize to what Ajay or Rahul said, because we heard insights from lifestyle marketing and personal care. And if I look at the foods arena, there are certain consumer truths that when a marketeer or a business person wants to enter foods and create a new category or create a space, I think that first, again, as Ajay said, that you start from the consumer. It is much easier, we find, that to get a trial in a 5 rupee biscuit or a 10 rupee noodle as compared to, I'm sure, to a Titan watch or to even a personal care, because a woman will think twice for putting a cream on her face. So a new cream, for example. So trial generation is significantly easier. But we have found that in food marketing and creating businesses, getting repeats and getting a sustainable, profitable business is much more difficult. So, given that we are in the food arena, we believe that it is always better to create scale and be the center of the plate, center of the thali in a manner of speaking, because niches in food categories don't work for the simple reason that this business is about scale. The gross margins, the put down value of the consumer is low. So we have to create scale, which can grow year on year. you need to enter large categories and have large plays. Niche entries don't work for most of the people. And that is the problem entrepreneurs have in food categories, because they get stuck at 100 crores, 150 crores, and then they can't grow any further. So, I mean, obviously, we start from the consumer, but I think very, very critical for a company like ITC, which obviously has created, be it a Ashirwad or a Bingo or a Yippee or a Sunfeast or a chocolate business or a juice business or a dairy business in the last 10, 12 years, is that you also need to have a right to play. Now, the right to play for our organization, honestly, comes from our heritage, which is the agricultural heritage, because, you know, we are blessed with the agribusiness, which is one of the largest procurers of wheat and fruits and milk and other products after FCI in the country. So the entire brain behind, or the intel behind, for example, our largest business, which is $1 billion business of Ashirwad Atta, was really our back-end capability to get the best quality wheat, consistent quality, and have the right, let's say, recipe management across the 40, 50 factories of wheat, of atta, so that when the woman in Delhi or in Chennai is making a roti, she gets that same quality of softness, whiteness, or puffiness of the roti every day. So I think the core strengths of the organization need to be leveraged, as the earlier speakers have spoken about. The second thing is that we believe that even in a food category, you have to really understand the basic formulations and the basic technology, because that is what gives you a differentiator. So do you understand the cost of making a product? Do you understand the cost of transporting a product? In our business, unlike face washes, for example, that Rahul talked about, transport cost is very important. If we start transporting a packet of milk or a packet of a 5 rupee biscuit beyond 200 kilometers, your contributions or your margins really collapse. So understanding every paisa in a food category is also very, very important. So these are some of the learnings. I mean, get to the consumer, understand the basic technology, bring in a differentiator bred out of technology, and I think go for scale, because in food, scale is critical, I think.
Awesome. I like the, while there is focus on the consumer, I like the drift from a Titan to Himalaya to ITC. I think it's very clearly visible, and that's what the discussion is going to become interesting on. So tell me this thing that, okay, when you're when you're creating the category or when you're hitting the market, what are some of these critical factors what needs to be taken care of from a business plan perspective, people perspective, consumer perspective, or in today's parlance, for that particular matter, digital is big. Do you use it to your advantage in some form? So how is the play there? What are some of the critical factors when you hit the market? Ajay, you're muted, Ajay.
It's the same order, like? Okay.
Yeah, I think we will go unless
yeah, sure. Okay. I think at a very fundamental level, before you even get into how you crack it, I think it's very important to first paint the opportunity. So what is the specific opportunity that we are chasing? You know, even within a category, which segment you're going after, or why, you know, what are those unmet needs? Let's say we chose to go in saris after a customer segment whom we already knew through Tanishq and Raga and our existing customer base. We knew how to serve her. So we said, we will get into occasion wear, light occasion to heavy occasion, because that's where we'll make a difference. Having understood that, so what's the opportunity and what will enable me to bring alive that opportunity? Let's say these are the two pieces. To understand that, I think I'll play out a little bit more on the consumer side. I think immersion with the customer and the category is very critical as the first step. Actually, before that, the first step is putting the team in place, but I'll come to the team part a little bit later. It's very critical. But immersing yourself. So it's not important just to do research through conventional research methodologies. At least that's what we found out, especially in the lifestyle space. It's important to see how does the customer interact with the category. So example, while we reached out to 4,000 young ladies about their thoughts and ideas towards the sari category, we actually got 100 of super consumers into one big banquet hall. Told them, get your top 10, 15 favorite saris. and it was an exhibition literally out there, and talk to us about them and tell us why they are special, what they like, and interact with each other. The whole place was buzzing with action. So that was a fantastic way to understand the customers' first-hand, relationship with the category, which you will not get through a research so easily. Similarly, we did a lot of road shows.
Were women getting emotional with the saris?
Oh, it's amazing. When we did our road shows, we did our first proof of concept in Taj West End. And I was there for the 9 days. We were like receiving customers, showing them around. People took a minimum 2 hours to up to 3 hours in a maybe 800 square feet space. And they shopped like there was no tomorrow. And most importantly, they were hanging on to the saris, and somebody was keeping it down and somebody else was taking it. But what it showed me, and they came in, in sweatpants, and they may have come from in Western wear. You wouldn't even imagine. They came as sisters, they came as mother-daughter, they came friends. Those 9 days told me that in a so-called younger, high-tech city like Bangalore, if this is the love for the category that women have, this is alive and kicking. So it's very important to get that first-hand personal feel. The second piece I wanted to come to is about the team. So when we actually started the business, it's very important that who is the founder. So I might have been the person tasked for nurturing this, but I was also doing many other roles so who's going to be the full-time founder of this, even in an internal setting? And what all does this founder need in terms of what are the other skill sets? So we need people from the category. We need those people who come with that knowledge and understanding, and most importantly, the passion. I remember interviewing along with the founder, the internal founder. We were interviewing a lady from the design and category side. And she said, so tell me, what is the game plan? What is the strategy? And we said, hey, you guys, you have to come and make the strategy. We know we want to get in here. And she was stunned, and she said, are you saying, anything goes? We said, yes, anything goes. So I think it's very important to create an entrepreneurial team. Maybe it's a small core group of 4 or 5 co-founders, etc., who they are not functional specialists. They may bring complementary skills and functionality, but they are all passionate about that category, and they're thinking customer, they're thinking categories, they're thinking vendors, they're thinking costs, as Sanjay. So they're thinking all along about that. The third thing I want to share is deep immersion within the ecosystem of that category. It's very critical. I mean, the first thing we did, we were lucky we got a mentor from that space, and she guided us a lot. Mrs. Ratna Krishna Kumar, she actually adopted us. But she connected us with weavers. We went to, I think, at least 20 weaving clusters in maybe 30, 40 cities across the country, really small towns. We understood what is power loom, what is handloom, and literally how the product gets created. We spoke to people. You really need to immerse yourself deep down across the value chain, because if our philosophy is that any category one gets into, while it's a branded play, design-led and retail-oriented, we have to come across as category experts. If we don't build category expertise, we are not in the business for the long run. So to do that, you have to really go into the value chain in great depth. And finally, I think it's very important that having identified the opportunity and the possible levers that will unlock that opportunity, we must let this team run free. They have to experiment. We said, you should be doing 20 different experiments. You should be trying out. Maybe you'll fail in 50% or 70% of them. Doesn't matter. This is the time to learn. So you fail fast to learn faster.
So do you fix a time frame for that? Is it like you give them
Yes. So, before we knew it, suddenly we were told one day, hey, listen, there's a board meeting. Bhaskar, our MD, said, it's okay, you come, we'll present the idea to the board and we'll get I said, hang on, when is it? He said 2 days, and we had to put together a whole structured presentation to the rather entrepreneurial, board will like to see everything in a very systematic manner. But it's very important that we identify these are the 10 things we are experimenting with, and this is the timelines we'll give ourselves. Next 6 months, show me 3 proof of concepts. So if you're doing lehenga, show me a lehenga proof of concept. If you're doing sari, show me lehenga. And if you want to do it across 4 different geographies, let's learn from it. Let's go out, put the money and try. And finally, I think there needs to be a sponsor in the organization. If you're talking about large, if it's a totally new setup, sure, it's a different ballgame for entrepreneurs. But in large organizations which are already running legacy businesses, which are churning out cash, it's very important who's the sponsor.
Yeah.
And that sponsor should be pretty senior up. In our case, in many of these categories, I found our MD, Bhaskar, was a great sponsor.
Yeah.
Even, now as a CEO, I have to play the sponsor for Carrot Lane, Zoya, Mia, because Tanishq is the big banyan tree, massive. Whereas all these are so small. How do these teams nurture themselves and experiment and explore? Because they'll be very small unless you give them that opportunity to. So I think these are some of the 3-4 things that have helped. I think I will just add one more in Titan, and maybe it's true. In order that the legacy businesses don't stamp all over the place, you need to build the entrepreneurial team needs to actually build a lot of positive connect with the rest of the organization and draw from the organization, as opposed to them seeing, hey, what are these guys up to? So my job when I was nurturing these 2 businesses, Skin, and was always to keep updating the organization, bring in experts from there and say, hey guys, tell us how do we do this better.
Okay.
So there was so much positivity and blessing and goodwill. Otherwise the system can throw out new businesses very easily. You need to build that rapport and support from the entire team, even in front of the board or in front of any other. It's my peer group has to stand up and say, hey, we think it's a great idea, even if you guys don't think so.
Awesome. Yeah, I think
so this is some of the things which top of the mind struck me, maybe relevant for.
Yeah, but we saying that, okay, what stops an old existing legacy organization? I think the immune system doesn't allow them to grow or disrupt, right? That's what
very well put. Very well put.
Yeah. Rahul, in Himalaya, what's the case?
So if you are building a new category in personal care, right? You actually starting scratch on from start. You don't have category data. You don't have competitive reference. It's building it all new, right? So there are critical success factors for both internal and external. I think the most critical factor internal is for starting a new category is the conviction. It is this conviction which actually makes the idea a shared idea across the organization. Because for a category creation, it involves commitment from the entire organization. Is that what we have seen? An entire organization needs to come together to support and build the category, be it R&D capabilities, your production, your supply chain, and even commitment from your sales. Also, in personal care, you will see that building a new category requires nurturing. It will not give you huge sales and volume in the beginning. It requires nurturing with the right kind of resources, and that's what we believe in at Himalaya. I'll share one example. You see, Himalaya has pioneered with personal care range for moms in India. Himalaya Mom focuses on specific needs for pregnant and lactating moms. It's currently a niche. You will find 10 reasons, or you will find 10 anecdotes for pursuing or not pursuing, but you need a strong reason to continue and build that category. So the entire ecosystem works towards making it a success. That's for internal thing. The biggest thing is conviction. Externally, how we see is it is very critical to build a clear role of the category in the life of consumer and communicate it very sharply when you're building the category, right? So I'll again take a reference of our face wash. When we were building face wash category with our neem face wash, we have singularly communicated that it helps to take care of your pimples year after year after year after year. It's very repetitive. It's quite tempting to change your proposition, but single-mindedly we have built it. And today it is the result of that single-minded proposition. Look at any strong brand in personal care today, how they've built, when you think of strong teeth, you'll instantly think of Colgate. When you think of dandruff, you'll think of Head and Shoulder. When you'll think of fresh breath, you'll think of Close Up. So I think one is conviction, which is internal. Second is a single-minded proposition, which is how you communicate with your consumer. these two things are very important and critical success factor for building a new category. Finally, it is very important to set the right vision for the new category, because we have seen more often the early performance of the idea should not become the victim of its own expectation. A lot of people set a huge expectation for an idea or a new category, and then even if the category performs well, it gets rationalized because it has not met the expectation. So it's very important to set the right expectation.
Awesome. Sanjay?
Yeah, so I think I completely agree with the point that Ajay made, that you have to really crack the value curve for entering a new business. Now, I want to demonstrate that with something we did, for example, that how it is important to carry the entire value chain and really imagine how you will do things differently. Because for us as an organization, we are entering most of the spaces or category of food products 10, 20, 30, 40 or 100 years after the industry leaders have really entered it. So we really need to get to the basics of that. So I'll give you an example of a very new business, which we created around 4 years back, which is the food beverage business under a brand called Be Natural. It's an acquired business. So when we went and looked at that nectar, it's called technically the packaged juice segment, we went and we saw that, ultimately a fruit juice is a fruit juice is a fruit juice. A mixed fruit juice is a mixed fruit juice. How is mine going to be better than yours? And how do you create a sustainable long-term differentiation, which actually is valued by the customer? So we went and said, let's understand how this industry operates, not only from the consumer perspective, but from the raw material perspective. And we understood that except for the 4 fruit types of lychee, pomegranate, mango, and guava, every other fruit juice that you consume or our families consume, apple, mixed fruit, orange, it's all made from imported concentrates. What it means is that I'm going to Israel, I'm going to California, I'm going to Brazil, and I'm basically taking the fruit pulp or fruit juice. I'm basically concentrating it by heating it, and I'm bringing a concentrate like powder to India. I'm packing it with water and sugar into a Tetra Pak. Now, that is how the industry used to operate. And that honestly kills some of the good vitamins, etc., that people eat or drink fruit juices for. So we said, let's change the entire thing. Let's build it on the fact that we will only work with Indian fruits, because that is the best marker for nutrition. And globally, we saw there were a lot of brands which have positioned themselves that my juice is not made from concentrate, or it is not from concentrate. So it meant not only positioning and communication and packaging, it also meant going back and creating fruit ecosystems and plantations, for example, for oranges in Nagpur, getting pulping capability, which India didn't have for those fruits, getting pineapple in Kerala, or getting, let's say, peach and plum from Kashmir. So all of that backend is what has fueled our ability to claim for the long term that we're the most nutritious or the healthiest fruit juices in the country. So I think that is one part. And I think that I cannot, because, in ITC, we are a group of, let's say, 15 categories. And some of the categories, I like the point that Ajay and Rahul made, is that some of the categories are billion-dollar categories, our biscuits category, or our juices, or our atta category. Whereas at the same time, the same office, I have teams which are working on 100 crore categories, like, for example, fresh dairy, or, for example, chocolates or coffee, or categories which are getting incubated and people are working for last 4 years on a nutrition category. Now, how to motivate those people is super important, because people, we are all warm bodies. Everybody compares themselves to, let's say, a category which is 5,000 crores and they're just smiling. And it is very important for leaders to actually recognize equally the efforts put in, because even our atta category for us was 100 crores 15 years back. So I think that is super important. That is a huge challenge. How to manage talent and motivate talent in a large conglomerate, like you mentioned, and create new businesses.
Yeah. What's the split now, Sanjay, between the cigarettes and 50-50, or cigarettes form the largest?
No, so we have multiple businesses. So yeah, our traditional tobacco businesses now, we have also hotels and paper, right?
Yeah.
So tobacco is very important for us, but it is now not, it is smaller than the other businesses.
Yeah, like I have a comment on Sanjay's thing. I could resonate with it. See, skin, the perfume category itself is so small.
Yeah.
So, even to get to 300 crores is like, wow. If you talk to some FMCG guys, they'll say superb. Like, Rahul will say, I'm game. You talk to in our system, the jewelry, Tanishq, we do some 15,000 crores. With 300 and 15,000, there's no connection. So one very, very good input which came from Bhaskar, I must say, he said, what? The role of perfumes is to recruit customers for us. So he's saying your target should be, when can I serve 1 million customers? And whereas in jewelry, of course, we serve 2 to 3 million. So now the numbers start making sense. And therefore there is, what he said, warm bodies. You're able to actually build a certain purpose even for these warm bodies to say, I'm playing a role in the overall shaping of the company. That I could connect with that. So I thought I should share this with you.
Yeah. Bhaskar is a legend that way, from where he's taken the company to where. I think I have very high regard for him, and we can't even put words to what he's done to right in that way.
Yes.
So see, these words in terms of category creation, disruption, great terms, better said than done. And it's so hyper competitive these days. Do you think disruption is a choice, or has it become a fundamental ingredient for businesses? What are the typical roadblocks or pitfalls that one really need to watch out for if you think that it is a fundamental ingredient? And is there some mistakes of yours which we all can learn from?
Yeah, sure. So I think firstly I would like to, category creation and disruption are big words.
Yeah.
I think category disruption or creation is an outcome. In hindsight, you can say you disrupted or created. Yeah. But when you're in it, you're actually just, trying to create a business. I can say today, Tanishq has disrupted that category and shaped behavior. And, we are only 5% of the total market, but nevertheless, we are seen as an influential leader. But I don't think we thought ourselves that way. I mean, that we have come here to disrupt this market category. Or I think, whereas I would turn the whole thing around saying, what is it that I am doing uniquely to my set of customers, which others have not yet done? As a consequence of which, if more and more people and more players see value in doing that, it results in, when we got into watches, yes, the only disruptive play was, let's say, quartz versus mechanical. Mechanical was 98%, it was HMT, all went quartz. But there was no, yes, it was a tough call which was taken. But we said we'll go with, we just took a call that we'll go with quartz because we think this will give great styling. And therefore it resulted. In jewelry, we did the same call. We said we'll go with 18 karat and 14 karat studded jewelry as opposed to plain gold. Nobody came into our stores. Yeah. For the first few years, our stores were like museum pieces. We were, it was not relevant to the customer, right? Yeah. So I think the moment you look at it from a category disruption point of view, you can go astray. But when you look at it from a consumer perspective, it gives a certain direction. So if you're meeting an unmet need of the customer and there are enough and more numbers of people who are excited by it, yes. So that brings me to the pitfall. One of the pitfalls that many of our brands have done, and therefore we've taken a little longer time to incubate some categories, is that in our love for differentiation, we sometimes forget that you need to be also relevant. So there's a relevance axis and a differentiation axis. Highly differentiated and not relevant to too many people, you become so niche that it takes a long time to build relevance, and which is what Sanjay was talking about, in the center of the thali versus being a niche player. Yeah. So many a times we get carried away. In fact, in jewelry, we had exactly that. That's why it took us 7 years to kind of get our business model understanding. It is not that, it takes 7 years for any jeweler to break even. Yeah. In hindsight, you could have done it in 2 years, but we were not, relevant to a large number of people. So second thing that I would like to say as a pitfall, very often we may land up under-investing. So in an urgency to show profits, sometimes the team themselves gets caught up in that because it's competing with other teams inside the system. So trying to show early success too early can result in sub-threshold investments. And here I really salute ITC or many of the other players who believe in this business will lose money for the next 5 years. Tough luck. That's the way it is. And if you can't stand up and tell that to the board, then it's not worth doing it. Any retail business, it takes 4-5 years as a business. The store may break even early, but the business takes time. And, I think you need to have those KPIs in place to see, yes, each store or each geography is kind of beginning to show returns, or a product line is showing returns, but the business will take time. So sub-threshold investment is something which is very critical. The other thing, many a times I have seen entrepreneurs do, and it's a valiant effort. Many entrepreneurs are looking at changing fundamental behaviors of customers. Very early on, it was going completely digital or suddenly using technology for many things. Let me give you an example. One of the behaviors in the jewelry business is that people buy gold and then they buy gold in kgs or grams, and then they say making charge itna hai, iska itna hai total. I can come and say, sorry, I'm changing the rules of the game. We are going to sell on MRP. Yeah. So they can say, okay, you do what you want. We will do what we want. Customers are not here to, entertain brands. It's the other way around. Right. So changing fundamental behaviors, or if people are not used to wearing perfumes in India, because it's kept in the cupboard and it is special occasion wear, suddenly now I'm trying to tell them, listen, here's an affordable perfume you wear every day. It's a disruptive idea, okay? Yeah. And very appealing to most marketing professionals, ad agencies. Everybody will love you for it. Boardroom will say fantastic. But ultimately, customer has to say fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if the customer is saying, hang on, man, why should I do this? It's going to take time. You can't suddenly say that, 10 million people are going to start changing their behavior overnight. So you need to work at it saying, okay, what can I do? Can I give them 25 ml bottles, which in the sampling? Can I make the perfume, which is fantastic, French made, but give it to them at a very affordable price? Can I make it available where they have not seen it before? Can I make it available at the chemist shop? Or can I make it available at a Titan watch store, etc., etc.? So habit changes take time. Same way, studded jewelry, if I were to look at it, trying to get people to buy diamonds. Even today, the total number of people who buy diamond jewelry is less than 15% of the people are buying jewelry, and virtually everybody buys jewelry. Okay, I'm just giving you that sense. The penetration is there. So for us to come and say that I am going to serve you only studded jewelry because, this is where I stand. Even the people who buy studded won't come in thinking you're not a serious jeweler. Correct. Yeah. And after 25 years in the market, Tanishq today, studded ratio, the studded to total sale, stands at 34%. Okay, the rest of the market is at 15% in value. In volume, maybe even lower. 25 years of continuous talking about studded. In fact, most people think we don't sell regular jewelry, we only sell studded. That's the customer brand equity studies that we get. But the reality is we sell a lot of other stuff. So the plain gold jewelry or 22 karat jewelry. So it takes time to change behaviors, and to me that's the big thing. The final piece is you get in love with your idea and you're seeing only what you're seeing. Sorry, like you're kind of frozen. Like you were frozen in between. Yeah. I'll complete the last point, which I was saying.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you. You were a little frozen in between. I think the network issue. So the last piece is we are in love with our ideas as entrepreneurs. Okay, if I've created a sari thing which is hand woven and it is really awesome, and I've seen thousands of women love it. There are 9,000 others who may hate it. They'll say, you guys are, who is bothered about hand woven, not hand woven? Acha design though, at good price, and give me some fabulous experience in your store. That's all they want. So I think the biggest challenge entrepreneurs face is being relevant and being real, which means I need to be ready to junk my original idea. It didn't work the first time, or I need to make changes. I need to add something. Suddenly a lot of people saying, oh, you are selling saris. Why can't you also sell salwar kameez cloths? That's also useful. What about for men? Then in a retail environment, they say, can you also do custom made lehengas for me? Now, you can get carried away, but at the same time, if you say I'm going to be only purist in a particular manner, because the brand is going to stand for something like this, and 3 years later we'll come out with something else, you may lose the plot. So, or even in perfumes, we had a lot of people telling us, why don't you launch deos? We said, no, we won't launch deos. We came up with body mists. Body mist, nobody has heard in India. We picked it up from some Asian markets and said body, because deos already, the game is Fog and Axe and, Engage and all these guys are freaking out. What role will we play? But we launched body mist. It was a failure because people thought, ye hai kya? Is it a deo? Is it a perfume? Is it some time pass? And is it for younger women? It is for older women. Finally, we sold that out at a discount, cleared out the stock and launched deos at double the price because we wanted the perfume. We didn't want to be seen as a deo brand. We wanted to see, and it flew off the shelves at 400 rupees versus 200 rupees for a typical deo. Our deos are freaking out.
Yeah.
Which means we were not real. We were not in touch with what the customer is telling you loud and clear, because we were caught in our own, idea of the brand.
Ideas. Rahul, what's the scene at Himalaya? Have you all had any pitfalls with regard to face care? And I know you guys have been creating a lot of categories.
Yeah. So I agree with Ajay, disruption is quite a big word, right? But if any offering is able to make consumer question its existing behavior or the existing choices, I think it's a good enough disruption. I heard Ajoy talking about Tanishq, where the ticket size item is very big, hence the changing of behavior is a little more difficult. But in personal care, where the value of the product is lesser, a lot of brands try to bring in disruption to change the behavior and try to build new categories, right? So in that sense, in personal care, disruption is definitely important. It offers higher chances for success over any Me Too offering, right? So I'll give you two examples where disruption has helped us to grow big and where we had a pitfall. If you look at a neem face wash, right? Neem face wash, at a time when face wash was a very small category and consumer was happy using soap, on the entire body, right, for cleansing, and consumer never thought that they need anything else. There was no unmet need. There was a complete satisfied need, right? And one fine day, the brand comes and tells consumer that, soaps can be harsh on your skin. It may increase your pimples. And, consumer may wake up and think that, I did not think of it like that. Yes, the brand is saying, right, I need to, consider this. I have a lot of other examples, the one fine day a brand will come and tell you that, your soap is changing the color of litmus paper. Did you think it could be harsh on your skin? You don't need a soap, you need a beauty bar, right? And could be, there are a lot of good examples, in personal care, because shifting of category becomes very easy. That what you've been wasting money on a gas deo. Why are you wasting money? You need something which is a no gas deo, and here comes a new category altogether, right? Loads of example. People have questioned the age-old strength of milk. Your milk is not strong enough to enhance the strength of your milk. You need MFD, right? And here comes a new category. So I think this disruption is a very big word, but in terms of this differentiation, we've been able to create a lot of new categories. And I completely agree with Ajay. More than disruption, what is important is that disruption should offer relevance. It should be meaningful to consumer, right? While we are leaders in face wash, I'll tell you one of the disruption that we did is because we are in face care, we had a face wash and a scrub together. So there is a face wash which also washes your face, and there are scrub particles in it, right? But it was a disruption. It was an innovation in the category. But was it really relevant for the consumer? Because the consumer who is seeking the benefits of scrub and the consumer who is seeking the benefits of cleansing, they're different.
This is the typical case of saying that, okay, you differentiate too much and you lose relevance in some form.
In some form, true. Yeah. So I believe that being relevant is a critical thing, and one needs to watch out for. If you're not relevant, then there are a lot of examples in the category. We saw the entry of powder face wash. We saw the entry of oil in shampoo. So, a hair oil getting packed in perfume bottles, and all these three examples are where it was not very relevant to the consumer. They did not succeed. Disruption, according to me, is it should be relevant. It should make consumer life happy, and it should make consumer a bit more lazy. Of course, disruption should not make the price of the product so expensive that it becomes unaffordable. To me, disruption should create a good music. It should not create noise.
Awesome. Great. Sanjay, over to you.
No, I think both the gentlemen have spoken, and I completely agree that, I mean, if you can disrupt, great. But I think at the bare basic, you should have a differentiator.
I'm putting one more question, which has come from Subhash Franklin, which is specifically for you. So you can couple the answer and put it, saying that, okay, will you enter a category if there are no major differentiator in a category, and it is only big volume?
Okay, so I think there is no category in the world where you cannot differentiate. I'll give an example to Subhash, right?
Subhash, yes.
Subhash, I'll give you an example. I mean, we all buy pouch milk at home in the morning, and you would think, Subhash, it is the most commoditized of categories, right? Doodh hai, 40 rupees liter hai. How can you differentiate? So when we enter the fresh dairy business through Ashirwad, we sell pouch milk, curd, lassi, paneer in the east of India in 20 cities. We said, how do I differentiate? I mean, because Amul is a market leader there, and Amul is a large brand. So we said, okay, we have Ashirwad, which is a trusted brand, known for trust and kitchen ingredients, but there needs to be a plus. So the differentiator there is the way we process our milk. So in the way we process, the milk is sweeter. See, Amul, me, everybody buys milk from the same farmer in Bengal or Bihar. But the way we process it, the milk is sweeter, it is more thicker than any competitor in a blind research. Blind research means that I'm not even showing them the brand of Amul versus Ashirwad. I'm giving in a glass my milk versus, let's say, competitor milk, and people are saying in a blind test, this milk is superior. So I think there is no category, honestly, where you cannot differentiate. I think it is up to the power and imagination of the marketer to imagine what you can differentiate. People have differentiated salt, for example. But coming back to the differential versus that, I think I will give you an example of a biscuit portfolio. I mean, the biscuit category is a 40,000 crore category, and we have a brand called Sunfeast, and it has many subcategories. So, for example, in Sunfeast we have everything. We have glucose, you have a Mari, you have a cream filled biscuit, etc., etc. But where we find that where we are able to differentiate or disrupt, for example, we have Dark Fantasy, which is a chocolate filled biscuit. The chocolate inside is as gooey and liquid as anything. That is doing so well year on year, growing for us profitably. And where we were not able to differentiate, like a Bari biscuit, in the first 10 years, a Mari biscuit, which is the round biscuit, people have it with tea in the morning. We were similar to a Parle and Britannia, and we struggled on margins, we struggled on growth. Last year, we put a taste differentiator called Veda Mari. It was with Ayurvedic ingredients. Now you have a differentiator that is giving something. So I think that, it is super critical, I think, to differentiate.
Awesome. So Rahul, there is a question for you, which says, do you forecast a paradigm shift in consumer behavior post-COVID, especially with regard to the skew towards health and wellness segment, because everybody is thinking health and wellness and hygiene and all that. So do you think there is going to be a paradigm shift in consumer behavior?
Yeah, hi. So we definitely feel that there is a shift. It'll be incorrect to acknowledge, it will be incorrect to not acknowledge the shift. There are a lot of trends which are coming in, and which may offer an opportunity for new category creation, right? If you look at one of the trend that we see is at home, like in COVID and even after COVID, we'll see there is a lot of things happening from home. Home has become pivot for everything, right? a lot of people are not wanting to unnecessarily step out because of the fear and uncertainty. We see that DIY, I'm talking more from personal care point of view, we see DIY gaining more relevance over going to parlors and salon. A lot of people will try and experiment doing DIYs at home. And you will see e-com is becoming more preferred channel because of the home delivery. Fitness apps are replacing gym memberships. So we see more coming in with this trend of being at home. Even after COVID gets over, a lot of people will continue to avoid unnecessary going out. Second trend that we see is mask is becoming a new accessory for face, right? And that is definitely going to impact the beauty on face segment, right? With your lips and cheek getting covered, there is a lot of responsibility on the eyes to express the beauty now, right? So there is a lot of things which will be woven around eye as an element. So you will see a lot of innovation coming around that, because eyes.
Eye care is the new focus area for you all.
Eye care was always, and we have scaled eye care business, but we see that space will be important. Another interesting thing what we see will have a shift is hand hygiene has come into front light. Everyone, including government, is talking about washing your hands regularly, use sanitizer, clean your hands, wipe your hands multiple times. You will see a lot of ancillary categories developing around it. With frequent hand washing or with frequent using sanitizer, what it will do is it will make your hands more dry. Your hand skin will become more dry, and there's a brilliant opportunity for hand creams. Of course, COVID will offer a lot of new opportunities in personal care, which is related to the impact that it is having right now.
Awesome. So you'll have to keep watching closely and thereby figuring out what to pick and what not to pick.
Absolutely.
Something which is very interesting in here, which was, we were speaking about this earlier, saying that, okay, how do you figure out that very thin line? So this is a question from Arvind Kumar saying that, okay, there could be confusion around categories sometimes. Just to give you an example, when Apple enters into smartwatches, they said we have to look whether it is a core technology area or a lifestyle product. Titan didn't venture aggressively. I guess they view category as core technology. How to avoid this confusion of connected categories, since company's current portfolio and positioning must match its new product. So this is a very tricky zone, right? Saying that, okay, how do you decide? Saying that, okay, where is my borderline? Will I start eating into my portfolio? Will I start killing my existing category? So Ajay, that's for you.
So it's a very interesting one. In fact, for many years, we always thought ourselves not as a watch company, but actually as a wristwear, something that adorns the wrist. And when we saw wearables and smartwatches, etc., emerge, in fact, when Apple did it, and then many others we were following, we realized that this is an area which is going to compete for the same real estate. Okay, even in jewelry, when we look at things, we look at the neck as the real estate. Neck, of course, fingers, ears, etc. So I think any category, first of all, I think, talking about category disruption, I think what we must recognize is most categories and existing players very rarely get disrupted, at least market leaders very rarely get disrupted by people from within the category. It comes from outside. It is a technology. It is actually a category which is trying to do something else. And, existing businesses are collateral damage. So internationally, Apple has become the largest watch retailer or watch seller in the luxury end. Rolexes and Omegas and all the Swiss watches have taken a huge beating. Okay, in India, yes, of course, it's the price point, etc., matters, and therefore it may take some time, and we are doing our own stuff on wearables. But it is very important to watch out for the edges. So I doubt if a jeweler will disrupt us as much as something else which comes and takes away the share of wallet in some other zone for a long time. So we do this blue sky understanding every year. Twice, thrice a year, we do a formal research where we are of course trying to find out how our customers thinking about the category and how will they spend for Diwali? What is their mood, etc. That's a sentiment understanding. But what we also do is we really spend a lot of time to understand what are the other things on their mind. Very often we have found that we are competing with international travel. We are competing with, holidays, basically.
Yeah.
We are competing with technology devices. I mean, iPads, or because 60, 70,000, or even computers or other gizmos which are coming in. We are competing with completely different categories of products, which we didn't think was affecting jewelry. But it is not that they are after jewelry customer. The customer is getting attracted by something else.
Yeah.
So it's a very fundamental. So we realized very early on that while we want to build category expertise, the company should actually, the firm should look at other ways and means in which we can connect with the customer and seduce the customer. So, watches, jewelry, eyewear came because we said we are we are a functionality with style. Okay. Otherwise, what has a watch company got to do with eyewear?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, it came out of that thought process. Or for that matter, jewelry is an adornment. We didn't get into jewelry because people invest in gold. We got into it because it adorns the body, while the watch adorns the wrist. So we also considered writing instruments. Yeah. But we realized that it's too small a category. We actually, in fast track, thought of helmets, because we said, the head is also another real estate of the body, because we are in the personal wear space.
So you typically look at each aspect and say, head is there, neck is there, hands is there.
So, in wearables, in fact, if you see many technology, they have said, all the parts of the body are looked at and said, which is the place where so it's really wristwear which has taken off in a big way. But we looked at headgear and we said, listen, two-wheelers, youngsters, headgear. But we figured that category, we got into it. Okay. But we realized very quickly that category is about functionality, not so much about style. Yes. And fundamentally, you have to be a superior helmet to make a mark. And of course, at a low price. So we got out of that because it's too small a business. But looking at the real estate of the body, and for us and for others, it may be something else. For foods, it may be something else. For personal care, it may be something else. The disruption is coming from technology at all. For example, the next disruption could come from a shared economy. Let's get into rental business of jewelry.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
There are two more interesting questions which I want to pick up and just.
Yeah, sure.
This is from Anand Singal and Rajiv Shukla. They are also talking about saying that, okay, tech brands have come and shown the way for disruption. And there has been a case of Carrot Lane and Tanishq for that particular matter with Ajoy. So I'll come back to that later. Yeah. And digital marketing for particular matter has changed the way consumer behavior today, right? Especially we have seen during the COVID period, the time spent on OTT, the time spent on the mobile phone, social media, all this has changed habits and consumer behavior. So Sanjay and Rahul, how has this changed the way which you do business in terms of category, in your own categories?
Yeah.
What is your learning out of it, and how you change the way which you do business?
Yeah. So, obviously, people are sitting at home and people are ordering at home. So, there is a change from a pure consumption occasion and the channel. And we are finding brand per brand. The e-com sales for even and biscuits has doubled in the last few months. So, obviously, we work with the partners, but also meant that we have moved our marketing monies. So our marketing monies have moved from, let's say, which nobody is consuming right now. It's very less, unfortunately. It's moved to communication on the e-com platforms, on digital. The other thing is, and I think Rahul spoke about that the home is where people are there. And we are from foods, and everybody is a chef today. You cannot find in Bangalore, you go to any shop, boss, you will not find a cake mix in this country right now. You will not find a vanilla essence in this country right now. So out of stock here. So the other thing we have done is that we try to create content. We are blessed with ITC hotels, and our ITC hotels are known for some of the best food in the country. We have some of the most marquee cuisine and restaurants. So we also created content in terms of largest branded content on air with Star TV, which was the 5-star kitchen, which is basically about ITC chefs coming in, talking about how, because people have access to much lesser ingredients. People can't go out and eat right now into a restaurant, but they want to have that experience with their families. And they don't have access to all the fancy ingredients that are required. So how, using the household ingredients that are available, you can cook up a 5-star meal for yourself and your family. So that's something we are creating because people are also consuming content, right?
Yes.
What do you know?
Sure. So if you look at, I talk about Himalaya personal care, we operate in more than 30 different product categories. And this is about Himalaya personal care. Now we have baby division, we have pharma division, we have wellness division, we have OTC division. Now, one of the big challenge for a company or a mid-sized company like Himalaya is distribution, right? Where the big brands and the big FMCG companies have a lot of muscle power of making their products available across India. Himalaya is in a growing phase right now. What the increased digital time offers us, and it's a good opportunity for us, is making a product reach consumer much faster. It just eliminates the entire distribution channel. So that's the biggest advantage that we have right now. And like Sanjay said, we have also seen a huge spike in our e-com sales. With more new people coming onto e-com and digital, they are able to get exposed to huge range of Himalaya, what Himalaya offers. And Himalaya is a unique brand. Okay, we are not house of brand. We are a brand in itself, which stretches from in baby care Himalaya, in personal care, shampoo, face wash, everywhere. So the trust and the equity of Himalaya has been able to stretch into the new variants or SKUs that consumer has not seen before, and consumer is making choice towards it, right? So we have also seen a similar thing in e-com. We have got more than 30-40% new consumers coming in and making a purchase for us. So this definitely helped us.
So there's a shift. Ajay, will you touch
Absolutely.
upon the Tanish Carrot Lane relationship? I really want to know more about it, how you all are learning and leveraging, because it's
yeah, so when we acquired Carrot Lane, the idea was to learn from a born digital player. Tanishq is a born, or let's say our own entire company is a very hard brick and mortar retail player. So what Carrot Lane brought in was their whole way of looking at solving for customer problems in terms of access, in terms of reducing friction, and in terms of improving a seamless experience of buying jewelry. Of course, coupled with the fact that Carrot Lane was looking at everyday beautiful jewelry as opposed to special occasion wear jewelry. So we saw some complementarity there, and we also saw an opportunity to learn. What we've done is we worked very closely with Carrot Lane, and we realized that many of the new entrepreneurial ideas on digital, be it joint closure, this whole omni approach, we helped Carrot Lane expand to 92 stores, physical stores, but their online business has continued to grow very well. And what they have done beautifully is seamlessly integrate the online and offline. And they have a process called joint closure, where somebody is chatting with you, and then convincing, converting, passing on to and people are finally buying because, a certain price point, they want to have a look. So this joint closure, video calling, try at home, and live chats. These are 4 or 5 very interesting things which Carrot Lane did very early on and has been successful. What we have done is imported many of those ideas and taken some of them to scale, because we could invest a lot more into the Tanishq business, and it's got even more accelerated during this period where we are saying customers are preferring safety and convenience, and they have now got used to, yeah, why not, if all my family members can sit on a smart TV and look at all the products that you're showing me, and I can shortlist those 3 products and complete my transaction in 5 minutes at the store. Yeah. Or forget it, I liked this one, send it to me, bill it, complete the whole process. That convenience, which even Rahul referred to, or even Sanjay talked about. But this is a shifting piece. And I think thanks to Carrot Lane, the power and importance of digital and serving this customer in a very seamless manner is, in fact, Eyewear started off working with Carrot Lane to say, can you develop a solution for virtual try-ons and leveraging our online and offline. They built on it. Now Tanishq is doing something else, while Carrot Lane continues to innovate on its own. We've left Carrot Lane to do what they do best. They are a separate company. there is only board oversight. Let's say I'm the chairman on the board along with a few other senior colleagues. But Mithun and team pretty much run the Carrot Lane business the way Carrot Lane was. Otherwise, we will lose a certain Carrot Lane digital feel, which they are.
He really enjoys it also. I was having a chat with him and he was mentioning how even after changing, he gets so much of freedom to experiment and nothing really has changed there.
Yeah.
So I think we've crossed the 1 hour mark. So I'm just shouting out for some people who have taken time out to put some questions and we couldn't answer them. So Upali, Vinayak, Sonia, Yashpal, Attar, Siddiqui, Nabarun Chowdhury, Shivakumar. Very sorry that we couldn't take your questions. We will try and send it to the speakers and see whether they could give you the answers separately. So you could look up that at a later point on our social media pages. So before I call Naveen Nair to give the concluding remarks, I want each of you to leave the audience with one piece of advice, especially entrepreneurs, saying that, okay, what would you advise them in this particular time, especially from a category creation, disruption, that particular angle? Small, medium enterprises, what would you advise them?
See, I believe a professional advising an entrepreneur sounds a bit ironical, but I will still have my 2 bits of advice. I would say that I would tell the entrepreneurs to focus on the business sustainability right now, rather than rapidly scaling up. I think we put and focus on business continuity right now. It's very important to look at business continuity. Second thing, I would say that COVID has given us a flavor of VUCA world to every business. It has made individual more adaptable and more agile, right? Hence retain this trained talent right now. The crisis will soon turn around and offer an opportunity. And I would tell all the entrepreneur to be prepared and be ready.
Awesome. Sanjay?
Yeah, I would just say that don't let go of the core, but I think it is super important to conserve cash for entrepreneurs in the current moment, because that becomes a problem for most people we have seen.
Ajay, your last words.
Yeah. So I think most entrepreneurs will find themselves in 2 zones. They may be in categories which have a huge opportunity, like they are in digital or online or some online learning or health, many areas. I would suggest for those entrepreneurs, if they have the opportunity for funds, go aggressively and really gain market share. But then there will be many others for whom the tide is against them, or they have to kind of survive. So to me, this is the year of survival for many of those entrepreneurs, and cash, as Sanjay talked about, or sustaining is very critical. So most entrepreneurs are very, they really run into trouble with cash. Yeah. So this is a year of managing your survival through cash. Yeah. Very important.
And yet there are opportunities to pivot into and create a great future for yourself. Awesome. Is Naveen here? Yes, Naveen, over to you. So thank you so much, panelists. It was my pleasure. So,
much.
Yeah, hi. Wonderful insights from all 3 of you. Thanks, Sanjay. Thanks, Ajoy. Thanks, Rahul. Thanks to our media partners, Media News for You and AdGully. Looking forward to hearing from all of you. Thanks for a wonderful audience. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us over. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, at Club.
Yes, I'll be in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.